Today in our 5-vert series, we're going to talk about individual position assignments, rules, techniques, whatever. So we're going to start with our outside receivers. So our outside receivers here and here are going to run the fly or die concept, or they're going to run an outside go. They can turn it into a comeback if the corner plays way over the top. So their main concern is to get outside, take an outside release if possible, and get back on top of the numbers. They got to run the top of the numbers no matter how they get there. They can stem the guy, stick the route, whatever they got to do right here to get away from the defender, but then get back on top of the numbers. And then the ball has to drift out here if we throw it. The ball goes inside the numbers, it's the quarterback's fault. Goes outside numbers, the receiver's job to make a play, beat their guy. Same thing over here. He's going to take the corner, stem him, but if he can't get pushed into the sideline, he's got to get back on top of the numbers and run the go. Now, if that corner is bailing so deep that he can't get past him, he's going to kill that route off at about 12 yards. Run a comeback. 12, maybe back to 10, but that we let him actually play with that a little bit, depending on where the leverage was at the corner and depending on where the first down marker was. If it was 3rd and 13, maybe run a 13-yard comeback. But if the corner was over the top of them, they could kill their route off comebacks. Remember, the quarterback is looking inside early, outside late. So if he's looking inside, this guy's job is to start beating this guy while we're looking, and then he's got to be the check down to throw the home run ball or find him on the comeback if he's there. So we worked both of those, obviously, gave the quarterback both looks. Usually it's not a problem, believe it or not. Now, the middle go, we got 3 inside goes. The middle go is kind of non-negotiable. So you're going to get something like this usually. The middle go has to run to this landmark, no exception. Just like the numbers, we got to get somebody on the numbers on each side at about 20 yards downfield. We got to get somebody right in the middle of the goalpost at about 20 yards downfield. So he could take a best release, but he had to work to get there. So kind of depending on where that guy was, but he could not get knocked off because, as people know that are doubting this 5-vert concept, it's not great if you get pushed into each other. There's barely enough room on the field to get all 5 guys enough space to get open. So it's very important that these 3 understand their landmarks. They have a specific place they need to end up every time. Every time. So they got to know, if I'm the middle guy, am I the outside guy? I got to get to that spot. The harder routes are these guys, but they also can adjust, the inside go. So let's talk about an inside go into the boundary. If you're into the boundary, an inside go, you're not going to run the hash. Now, if we were in the middle of the field, people are going to run hash and hash, but you're not on the middle of the field, but maybe a third of the game. So let's talk about the 2/3 you're not in the middle of the field. We're on the hash. He's here. He needs to get to this voided area. He may not get to there exactly to the hash. He may be a few yards to the boundary of the hash, but that's okay. So he's going to see a few different things. For us, if he was in tight as a wing, you may see a guy right here in his face, or maybe slightly outside of him, maybe a guy inside of him, maybe a guy playing off. He needs to be prepared for all of those. So what we would teach him in any case is take the best release possible. So if the guy's inside, we're going to take the best release possible and then try to get around him into that voided area. If he's playing more head up on him, he can stem, stick him, and get in that voided area. Now, this backer's there to help, right? So you got to push vertical. You got to push vertical so the ball's going over his head in there. Otherwise, you get into this territory. And you don't want to run all the way in here in case you get a bender. But that is his rule. And usually, this guy and this guy are only getting the ball thrown to them when they're wide open. So somebody has blown coverage. They've got a safety in the middle of the field. He didn't even realize that was, say we had him as a wing or a tight end, and he didn't even notice. He starts bailing that way, and this guy just runs straight down the field wide open. That happens once or twice a year, and you got to hit it. That's why every time the quarterback has to look, he has to look inside early, outside late. Make this inside work. Make this inside work. Don't have one time that you kind of take it for granted it's not there, because we're trying to throw that outside go. We're trying to throw that outside go a lot. If we weren't sure, we just threw the outside go, no problem. Throw a fade, take a chance, give our guy a chance to make a play. As long as it was outside the numbers, no problem. But if they left one of these guys wide open, we had to take it. So we got to recognize pre-snap where the guy may be. If he's shaded here, it looks like we got to check here. If on the snap this guy gets so good that he gets deep and he's kind of able to play both of them somehow, then we just throw it deep to the outside guy. No big deal. But always check inside for those times this guy comes wide open. Sometimes this guy comes wide open. Sometimes the safeties will split. You'll get a safety do this and this, and the middle guy comes wide open. It happens once or twice a year. You got to hit it. Because once you hit that inside go, once you hit that, the defense, for the rest of the year, the defense coordinator is worried about it. For the rest of the year, they're worried about it. Now you can run the ball better. Now you can do jet series stuff better. They don't roll as hard to motion. They don't do as many stuff because they're worried about these verticals. So it's so important you hit the cheap ones when they're there. Well, now we'll talk about the guy that's not hitting the cheap one, and that's this guy. I'm going to erase some of these other lines so you can see this a little better. Okay. So this guy, he can get a couple different looks. He can basically get this look, safety over top of him, backer inside. He can get them where they're kind of stacked up, something like that. Or occasionally, you'll get the one where he's there and they're there. Now, in any case, he's got to win that route. Let's start with the hardest one, probably the most complicated, most common, is the outside backer's there and the safety's there. His rule, if he's got the big inside go, he's got the big field. His rule is to go outside the outside backer, inside the safety. So this safety, assuming he's going to bail and go out, he's got to go outside of him, that's easy, and then inside of the safety. And try to hit it right in there. Now, if the safety breaks on it, wouldn't let him inside, he can keep bending. There's a lot of grass there. That's why this guy's running the middle. Now, if he gets more stacked, that's a little harder. It's easier to get inside the safety, but he may want to go down the hash a little wider, get him there, and then stem him late and get in. And we would work all three of these in practice. If he gets the guy way in there, now he's outside the outside backer, so maybe this guy's in here. He's got to go way outside of him, but he can get right back on the hash and stay flat, because if the safety's not there, if he cannot get inside of him, then he needs to stay down the hash. Just stay down the hash. So that's the base rules for these 5 goes.